Hey, what's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the Barlow Zone, home of the one and only Demon Hunter King Kaido, himself sent to Azeroth, aka Barlow. How's everybody doing today? I hope y'all having a great day. It's a little overcast where I'm at, but it's been nice. We've had a really hot last few months here, so I'm appreciating the cool weather. How about y'all? Is it starting to chill out a little bit where y'all are? A little bit of a reprieve from that heat of the summer? Hopefully y'all doing well. Anyway, I kind of mentioned this one in my last video. It's something that I've had a theory about for a while. Some I've really believed in, some I've tried to support anytime it comes up. And it is a theory that kind of spawned in response to me trying to explain why I think something else wasn't going to happen, right? And in the process of trying to explain why I thought this other thing wasn't going to happen, I realized that I was kind of working on something that might mean something, like more than just an explanation to support some wild idea or crazy thought I had, right? And the more I thought about it, the more a theory really came into focus. And I kind of, as I said, I mentioned it in my last video, and I wanted to go ahead and take the opportunity. We got this extra time this week. Definitely, once again, prayers to Oda and his family. Wish him a speedy recovery. Definitely hoping Oda Sensei is taking care of his health. But I kind of see the silver lining, because it gives me a chance to talk about this one and put it out there, right? Because that's kind of all what I'm about, right? Not only the theories, but putting myself out here so y'all can see the sincerity behind what I'm saying. And I suppose it looks like, at least, I wanted to start by talking about the rule of three. It's something that comes up a lot in the community. Obviously, if you've been around One Piece for any extended amount of time, or really interacted with a One Piece fan for any extended amount of time, you've got an understanding, at least, for how much emphasis Oda puts on this rule of three, right? And it's a classic, old school storytelling device. Even beyond storytelling, it's used in communications in general, even down to marketing and media. The rule of three: you separate whatever you're talking about into three parts: an intro, a middle, and a conclusion. Now, just to list a couple examples, because beyond just Luffy, Sanji, and Zoro, right? The big three everybody knows about. We also got Luffy, Blackbeard, and Shanks form their own little trifecta, triumvirate, if you will. And then it's also kind of peculiar to realize we've also only got three of the Monkey D clan in the story, with Luffy, Dragon, and Garp. It's also kind of wild that, and not something I thought about before, but there's also three generations of story being told at the same time, with Garp's generation having already kind of passed down the baton, if you will, to Dragon's generation, who's in the process of passing that down to Luffy's generation. That last one's not part of my notes. That was just something wild I thought about when I actually spoke the names Luffy, Dragon, and Garp out loud, right? Now, the reason I wanted to talk about the rule of three in terms of One Piece, right, and this theory, is there is another underrated trio, or underrated, not really, I suppose underrated as well, but understated, underrepresented, untalked about, if you will, trio of, I guess, power system in One Piece, right? Obviously, whenever anybody talks about scaling, power scaling in One Piece, it comes down to, okay, Devil Fruits versus Haki. Yeah, okay, we know Haki trumps Devil Fruit, but if you got a little bit of an understanding of Haki, perhaps your Devil Fruit can help you come out on top of somebody who only has Haki, type thing. And it offers a lot of debate territory, a lot of what ifs, a lot of who would win in this fight, who would win in that fight. Like, just overall, just between Devil Fruits and Haki, it has provided endless entertainment for us as a community, right? Like, just hours upon days upon months upon years of fun conversations with our friends, right? But it the power systems themselves are also a trio. And it's something that, as I mentioned, it's not talked about often. It's really quite underrepresented when it comes to discussing power scaling in One Piece. And what is this third power system, right? Science. Like, and I kind of get it. I mean, yeah, we got Sanji, but he's also kind of got a knack for observation haki, so he's got a little bit of his toes in the water when it comes to haki as well, right? But really kind of middling. Yeah, he's good with observation, but he's not even the best on the crew. That would be Usopp. So even in terms of the haki he has an affinity for, he's not the best on the crew at that branch of haki, right? It didn't seem. Oh wait, no. We can pretty much say for a fact he did not get armament haki, because on Wano, he activated his biological modifications and kind of got that permanent Germa buff. So in essence, his exoskeleton, I think it was called, is his armament haki now. So he doesn't really have a need for that. I'm sure he could buff it. He might, get that little bit of an understanding so he can maybe amplify his kicks or something like that, or coat up his arm to block an attack or something, some noise like that. He might get armament haki in the same way he has observation haki, is what I'm saying. But Sanji has largely remained tied to science in the One Piece story, and I think it might be a little bit of a failing on Oda's part with the storytelling, right? Because, we'll take a look at it. With Devil Fruits, for example, we've got names like Kaido, the strongest creature alive. We got names like Big Mom, Empress of an entire kingdom of people who revere her as a god of sorts, for more or for better or for worse. And, Luffy, an actual, basically reborn god in the form of Nika, or Joy Boy, or whatever it ends up being. Obviously I've got my theory that Joy Boy and Nika are the same person. We'll see how that one pans out. But then, we'll go ahead and hop over to Haki, right? We got names like Goldie Roger, the king of the pirates himself, never even entertained the idea of eating a devil fruit, it would seem, right? Like, to the point where Shanks himself kind of scoffs at the idea of devil fruits because of what he learned from Roger, it would seem. Speaking of, we've got names like Shanks. He's building an entire crew. Everybody aboard the Red Force is a non-devil fruit haki user. Okay, maybe not everybody. They do have a significantly larger crew than the Straw Hats do. But at the very least, the top tier aboard the Red Force are, assumedly skilled haki users. And then we got the likes of Zoro. Aside from his swords, what he's now learning how to use his armament haki, and before he even realized what he was doing, as we saw when he was talking to Yasan, he didn't even realize he was using Conqueror's haki, right? He didn't realize he was imbuing his weapons with Conqueror's haki. He didn't realize that's what Enma was feeding on, but he was still doing it. And then we take a look at science, right? We got the likes of, and I'm going to go ahead and preface this by saying, please understand, I am not trying to take anything away from these three names. They are incredible names, for better or for worse. But let's take a look at science, right? We got names like Vegapunk. Yeah, he did a lot of good for the world, right? He invented and created and theory crafted a lot of creations and devices and stuff. Like, dude's basically trying to create the World Wide Web in one piece right now with the Vega brain going into space as a satellite, right? And we got names like Judge. Yeah, you know, he's not good people. He was POS dad among the best of us. But he's a brilliant scientist. The Germa Kingdom only has the power it has because of the dude's mind, right? And then we got names like Frankie, a self-made man who looked over the notes of other brilliant inventors and scientists. Like, okay, no, you know what? I understand this and I kind of see where they were going. Let me see if I can put my spin on this. Like, yeah, okay, you know, like I said, not to take anything away from them, they're all big names. They all represent something. But, you know, compare Vegapunk to Roger, for example, or Kaido. Are you really betting on Vegapunk in that fight? You know, put Judge up against Big Mom or Shanks. Are you taking Judge in that fight? Put Frankie up against Zoro or Luffy. I'm sure Frankie got a couple stands out there that would say, oh, he got a chance, but nah, let's speak real. He wouldn't have a chance. And that's kind of why I feel like nobody really understands that science is the third part of this trifecta that makes up the one scale power system. And you know, why am I focusing so heavily on Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji when it comes to this, right? And I'm gonna try and be brief with this one because this is, as I've been saying, it's kind of my theory, but once you hear where my mind's at in relation to all of it, you can kind of see where it's going, right? Let me know if you kind of predicted what the next little bit's gonna be. Let me know in the comments. But obviously, what we got, Luffy. This dude's gonna end up the master of Devil Fruit users. There's not gonna be a better wielder of their Devil Fruit in the series by the end of it, right? And, you know, there's even the possibility that the Hito Hito no Mi model Nika is the pinnacle of Devil Fruits themselves. And that's why the world government fears it and has been chasing it, is because it is just, that Devil Fruit is him. It is it. It is the one above all. It is Stan Lee in the Marvel comic universe, right? It could be. I'm not saying it is. I'm just postulating that, you know, in relations to this, the Devil Fruit itself might be what makes Luffy the master of Devil Fruits. Unlikely. I think Luffy is what's going to make himself the master and the model Nika what it will be. Then we got Zoro, right? He's going to be the Haki master. Like, we really need our boy to fucking, you know, put a little bit of focus on that observation Haki so he gets a little bit less often, or lost a little less often. But, you know, I have heard a theory I kind of like. I don't know if I really buy into it or I support it or whatever, but I like the theory that Zoro's observation Haki is so beyond mastered that he is constantly on his way to an objective 2 or 3 in the future. Like, he's working ahead of the curve because he already kind of sees where everything's going and what's going to happen. Like I said, I don't know if I buy into it, but obviously already master of armament Haki. He's coming into his own with Conqueror's Haki. Just got some what we can assume is top tier advice from Yasan with how to potentially work on and develop that, because it's disrespectful to use it without knowing what you're using, right? You know, evidently, according to Scopper. And then we got Sanji. And Sanji is really where this idea spawned from. Because I get caught up in a lot of conversations online about whether or not Sanji will get Conqueror's Haki. And I personally am firmly in the camp that he will not. Not because I'm a Sanji hater. I really enjoy Sanji. I mean, I smoke cigarettes myself. I am a professionally trained cook myself. I have been known to show ladies a little more attention than I should have in the past, right? Like, there are a lot of reasons I resonate with the character, and those are a lot of the reasons, or a lot of the same reasons I really don't like him as a character, and I don't like that I resonate with him. But I understand why people like Sanji, right? And I don't hate on people who do. For what it's worth, Zoro is also not my favorite on the crew. I mean, in my eyes, the two will end this series on equal terms. Like, Luffy is going to be there, and then Zoro and Sanji are going to be like, I don't know if y'all watched Dragon Ball Super, but at the end of Dragon Ball Super, Tournament of Power is over. Very last scene as the music's fading, credits are rolling. It's just Goku and Vegeta squaring up again. Just like the good old days, because we are never going to find out who's actually stronger. And the reason I don't think Sanji is going to get Conqueror's Haki, as I've mentioned, he does have an understanding of observation Haki in the sense that he can use it and, use it to a relatively advanced degree. But I mean, other than that, he has either not shown any clues, I guess, for lack of a better word, towards getting the other two, and or just straight up doesn't really need it anymore, with the exoskeleton essentially being armament Haki for him just all the time, 24/7. So not only that, but because of this power system trio, this trilogy of powers, and the fact that throughout the entire story, 28 years, everybody who's been around the crew, everybody who's joined the crew, everybody who's become a member of the Nakama but not joined the crew, it has remained Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji for a reason, right? So I'm saying that Sanji's not going to get Conqueror's Haki because he is going to end this story as the pinnacle of scientific creation. He is going to accept and master the biological modifications that were forced upon him before he was born, and he is going to show the world what the pinnacle of science is, right? Maybe even we'll realize that, oh, hey, there were stories of people like him from way back, what would have been around the time of the Void Century. Not saying the Vince Smokes are related to the Void Century, just saying the level that Sanji might attain could be on the level of humans from the Void Century. So, as always, fam, I would love to know what you guys think about this one. It's a theory and an idea that I've really held dear for a long time now. Hey, what's up, Alice? You gonna hop up here? Come on. And sorry, here. Come on, babies. If you're gonna come say hi, come say hi. And I'd love to hear what you guys think about it. Let me and Alice know in the comments. Do you guys think I'm onto something? Do you guys think it's gonna be something else? Are you in the camp that Sanji is going to end up getting Conqueror's Haki? And as always, if a YouTube comment isn't enough for you, feel free to swing by the Discord community, the Barlow Zone, and or find me on my socials on X and Tumblr at BarlowBTheorizing. I'll make sure I got links to all that in the bio below. And as always, much love, fam.